The natural world is filled with creatures that know how to handle raging storms, freezing blizzards, and devastating fires. But there is one particularly pernicious natural disaster that can be found almost everywhere. Rain. Let's take a look at why rain can be so deadly, and how a creature that is made of metal can survive in a world of water. First, we need to realize that rain is not just 100% pure water that you might find absolutely nowhere. I mean, water in the sea contains salts and organic matter. Tap water contains chloride ions and minerals. Rainwater contains salt, organic matter, and is weakly acidic. It won't burn through your skin, but it can do damage over time. Well, that is, if your skin is sensitive to rainwater. Like, imagine if you were made of a reactive metal. Well, Duraludon is completely clad in metal. How can that be? How can this creature that looks like a man-made skyscraper be natural? Unless, does that mean skyscrapers are just shiny trees? Is it possible for an animal to be made of metal? Well, even we humans are composed of metals. Iron in our blood, calcium in our bones and teeth, sodium and potassium in and around our cells. We need metals to survive. Granted, we don't need a lot, 2.5% of our body mass. If you are an average of 70 kilograms for an adult male, there would be less than 2 kilograms of metals in you, the majority of which would be calcium. Now suppose that Duraludon is made of the aluminium alloy Duralumin, as its name suggests. Duralumin is a brand of metal developed in Germany to supply the military with a hard but light material for use in the Prussian War. The amount of metal that makes up Duraludon's body is given by this simple equation. If Duraludon was simply a block of metal, it would move like a block of metal. If the cladding was too thin, Duraludon would destroy itself if it tried to use a move like Steel Beam, which requires it to channel the metal in its body into an immensely powerful attack. In Blender, I calculated the surface area of my model of Duraludon as 9 meters squared, using the reference height of 1.8 meters. According to one NASA report, the radius of bend should not be less than thrice the thickness of the sheet. In the anime, we can calculate the radius of bend for Duraludon like this. We draw a circle that depicts the curvature of Duraludon's back. This is the clearest, most exaggerated curve Duraludon displays, and calculate the radius as half of the diameter. Note that the curvature of his lower back is more severe. I just realized that none of this analysis was necessary because we can literally measure the thickness of Duraludon's shell here, 21.4 millimeters, less than half of what I measured, which suggests Duraludon's body is reinforced in some way. I mean, since it looks like the shard, it might also be made of similar materials. The shard is made of concrete, steel, and glass. Glass is one of the least reliable natural materials, so we'll safely discount it. Since it is a biological entity, we can suitably propose that it's made of flexible organic matter such as collagen that reinforces the Duralumin exoskeleton, if that's the correct term. Putting all this together and concentrating on the metallic aspect of Duraludon, we can use the equation from before to work out that the volume of Duraludon shell is 0.19 meters cubed. It doesn't sound like a lot, but wait until we work out how heavy Duraludon would be with this much metal. Here's the formula to work out masses from volumes. By using the density of Duralumin as 2,790 kilograms per meter cubed, it means Duraludon would be made of half a ton of metal. Duraludon in fact is only 40 kilograms, meaning that the relative density of Duralumin that makes up its body may be about 5% of bulk Duralumin. 95% is likely to be some form of collagen, among other things, that binds to the Duralumin exoskeleton and increases its flexibility. That would be reasonable if collagen's density was negligible. However, it is almost half the density of Duralumin at 1,300 kilograms per meter cubed. We can adjust for this using the following modified formula. We know that V1 plus V2 is the total volume of 0.19 meters cubed, and that M1 plus M2 is the total mass, 40 kilograms. So we can simplify the equation as follows. V1 equals negative 0.14 meters cubed. Yeah, the composition of Duraludon is weird. After all, it is the size of a relatively tall human, but half the weight of one. The density of such a human would be very close to that of water, so the volume of an 80 kilogram human would be 0.08 meters cubed. What material could have a density low enough to give us appropriate results, while also making sense? Let me introduce you to metallic microlattices. Simply, a metallic microlattice is a structure of nanoparticles of metal that is close to 100% air by volume. It's like aerogel, but made of metal. For us, this means we need to calculate how much air Duraludon should be made out of to allow it to have a density small enough to justify its mass. Using this equation to find the percentage of Duralumin that makes up the metallic microlattice that makes up Duraludon, we get 7% metal by volume. The strength of metallic microlattices can be 100 times greater than collagen. Also, it's twice as flexible, which incidentally helps explain why the thickness was half of what I measured. Note that except for Duralumin and air, I have treated the mass of everything else Duraludon could be made of as negligible. Incidentally, since Duraludon is basically a sentient scale model of the shard, it could be made of steel instead of Duralumin. This would be related to its capacity to be the only Pokémon that can have the heavy metal or light metal ability. Steel has a density of 7,850 kilograms per meter cubed, so it would be just 3% metal by volume instead of 7% and 97% air and potentially other stuff. Okay, so it's really strong, but there is still one major problem. Duralumin easily corrodes. This is worsened by the fact that Duraludon can literally soak up moisture like a sponge, accelerating its degradation process. So, why in the name of Arceus would the poor Pokémon have evolved with such an unreliable material? Why not stainless steel or something like that? The answer may be simple. Electroless plating. Electrolysis or chemical plating is a means of coating the body of a structure to impart the structural or chemical properties of the coat while maintaining the bulk properties, in this case of the Duralumin microlattice. We mustn't forget that this is a biological entity we're talking about. This coat might not be strongly bonded to the microlattice, so it is obvious why a species like Duraludon would prefer to live in caves. This coating could be easily damaged. In caves, there is ample shelter from rain and other forms of precipitation, and there are plenty of minerals that could be extracted. Aluminium is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust after all. What do you think? Do you think Duraludon is made of steel or Duralumin? Tell me in the comments below. Lest we forget, Duralumin is a feat of material science, and that should not be overlooked. It got the job done during the Prussian War. It does have historic value even today, and Duraludon seems to do well with it. It doesn't even have a weakness against water types. It would be interesting to note how Duraludon would interact with their own species, but I wouldn't have had the time to animate it. I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. I want to focus on the material science of the Pokemon world for now, so in the future I might go into the ecology of these bizarre creatures. Please subscribe for more science videos like this, and thank you for watching.